Stop right here and don't scroll away. What I'm about to tell you will shock you. Alberta, Canada just faced one of the worst nights in recent memory, and what happened in Brooks left people terrified, homes destroyed, and cars smashed into pieces. I know you've seen storm videos before, but trust me, this one is different. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll reveal a chilling detail that meteorologists are warning could happen again soon. Don't skip, because this is information you need to hear. On the evening of August 20th, 2025, a monster storm swept through southern Alberta, and Brooks became ground zero. The calm sky that people had been watching only hours before suddenly turned into a furious battlefield. Imagine hailstones nearly 2 inches wide crashing down from the sky like rocks fired from a slingshot, only faster, harder, and colder. The sound was deafening. Neighbors compared it to gunfire. Others said it was like thousands of stones pounding against every surface at once, an endless roar that shook the ground beneath them. The air itself seemed alive with noise, rattling windows and echoing through every street. Houses that had stood strong for decades were ripped apart in minutes. Siding was full of holes as if a giant had taken a hammer to every wall. Windows didn't just crack, they exploded, sending sharp glass flying into living rooms and kitchens. Fences that once marked yards and gardens snapped in seconds, splintered into jagged pieces scattered across driveways and lawns. Streets were no longer streets. They were covered in broken glass, torn shingles, metal fragments, and splintered wood. It looked less like a neighborhood and more like the aftermath of an explosion. Families huddled inside their homes, some hiding in basements, others clutching pillows and blankets, listening to hail hammering the roof and walls with relentless force. Parents tried to calm their children, but the truth was everyone was terrified. Every strike of hail felt like it could bring the roof down at any moment. Many whispered prayers, hoping nothing collapsed on them, hoping their homes would hold just a little longer. Cars parked outside were left unrecognizable. It wasn't just a few dents, every inch of metal was battered, windshields shattered, like thin ice under a heavy boot. Side mirrors snapped clean off, headlights cracked, and roofs caved under the repeated pounding. Some vehicles filled with water as rain mixed with broken glass poured inside. When owners finally stepped outside, after the storm, they froze in disbelief. What once looked like cars now looked like wrecks pulled from a battlefield. Some people said it felt like waking up in a war zone. The only difference being the enemy wasn't human, it was the sky itself. And if you think that's bad, picture the farms. Within minutes, entire fields of corn and wheat were stripped. Bare crops that farmers had worked on for months were gone in seconds, leaving nothing but broken stalks and mud. Many farmers now face serious losses and are already worried about how they'll recover from this disaster. Please don't skip, because later, I'll explain why this storm turned so violent and why experts are warning it could happen again. The winds were just as terrifying as the hail, maybe even worse. Gusts tore through Brooks at nearly 95 miles per hour, speed so violent that the air itself felt like a weapon. Imagine trees that had stood tall for decades suddenly bending, twisting, and then ripping out of the ground as if they were nothing more than weeds. Branches snapped off and flew through the air like spears, crashing into roofs, smashing through windows, and slamming into cars with terrifying force. Wooden utility poles that once lined the streets like soldiers standing guard didn't stand a chance. They cracked in half, splintering like matchsticks, and collapsed across roads, blocking entire lanes in seconds. On Highway 1, one of Alberta's busiest and most important routes, chaos took over. Traffic came to a sudden, screeching stop as the storm swallowed the road. Some cars were stranded in the middle of nowhere, others badly damaged by falling branches, and many were trapped by live wires and debris littering the highway. Drivers later said it felt like the world turned white. Hail and rain mixed together, hammering the road so heavily that they couldn't even see their own hood, let alone the vehicle in front of them. Headlights became useless beams of light swallowed by the storm. For many, it felt like being blindfolded and left in the middle of moving traffic. Emergency responders tried their best to reach people, but even they struggled against the conditions. Sirens could be faintly heard in the distance, drowned out by the howling winds and pounding hail. Ambulances and fire trucks crept forward slowly, their lights flashing but barely visible through the haze of white. Several cars collided despite drivers hitting their brakes, and some were left totaled on the side of the road. People abandoned their vehicles and ran for shelter, dodging flying debris and praying they didn't slip or get hit. Responders shouted warnings again and again, telling people the most important rule: stay away from downed power lines. Many of them were still live, sparking against the wet pavement, a silent killer waiting for anyone who came too close. For those caught outside, it was pure survival. The storm wasn't just weather, it was a battlefield, and every gust of wind felt like it was trying to push people off the road. Every piece of debris felt like an enemy attack. The message from first responders was simple but urgent: stay inside, stay low, and wait. Because even the rescuers were struggling to fight their way through the chaos. This storm didn't just destroy property, it destroyed lives too. At the White Barn Fun Farm, a place where families often brought kids to see animals and enjoy the outdoors, tragedy struck. Trees collapsed under the storm's force, and two beloved animals, a camel and a pony, lost their lives. Families who used to bring children there for joy now came to see nothing but destruction. The damage there alone is estimated at over $50,000. But no amount of money can replace the lives lost or the heartbreak of the community. Meteorologists were quick to explain how such a powerful storm formed. They said it was the perfect recipe for disaster. Hot, humid air sat near the surface, while powerful winds twisted above. A low-pressure system pulled everything together. This mix created what's called a supercell, a type of thunderstorm that doesn't just form and fade away, but keeps growing stronger. And that's exactly what happened. By the time it moved into Saskatchewan, the storm had grown even more dangerous. Reports came in of hailstones nearly 3 inches wide and winds hitting 80 miles per hour near North Battleford. This wasn't just a local storm, it was part of a massive organized system tearing across the prairies. Recovery in Brooks and surrounding areas has been slow and painful. Crews have worked nonstop to clear highways, remove fallen trees, and repair broken power lines. Power companies like Altalink and Fortis Alberta are racing to restore electricity, replacing shattered poles and damaged insulators. Families are covering damaged roofs with tarps to stop water from leaking inside. Farmers are rethinking how to protect livestock and crops from future storms, building stronger shelters and planning faster evacuation routes for animals. But for many, the financial cost is overwhelming. Insurance claims are piling up. Cleanup costs are already in the millions. And people are left wondering how long it will take to return to normal life. And here's what I promised you from the start: the shocking detail. Meteorologists are warning that this storm may not be the last. The same atmospheric setup that fueled this disaster is still active. That means more supercells could form this season, bringing more hail, more floods, and more destruction. This isn't just a one-time event. Alberta and other parts of Canada could see storms just as bad, maybe even worse, in the weeks ahead. So what does this mean for you? It means staying prepared. Don't take warnings lightly. When officials say shelter in place, do it. When they tell you to avoid highways, listen. Because, as we just saw, one storm can change everything in a matter of minutes. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that like button. Share this with friends and family in Alberta. And stay alert. The sky can change in seconds, and the more aware we are, the safer we stay. This storm was a reminder that nature's power is nothing to take for granted.